Hey guys, welcome to my live stream. Good morning. Welcome to my cactus live stream, cactus care, sowing out, but also other stuff like vegetables. I brought some of the seedlings that I've sown out on the stream. Um, chili, chili seedlings, really interesting. They're still very young, just in the first week or so of their life, maybe a little bit older, maybe 10, 14 days at the most. And yeah, I brought some of them here. I want to show you on the stream today. And yeah, I brought containers full of seedlings again that we have to go through. I also brought new sowing soil for sowing out. So we will sow out today probably if the time's enough. So yeah, welcome to my live stream, guys. Great to have you. I appreciate you taking time for this. And yeah, we will do a lot of stuff today. I will be doing a little bit of seedling checking, and then we're sowing out. And I also have a little fruit here that I found, a dried lobivia fruit from the greenhouses. And I want to clean that too. So yeah, great to have you here. Let me tell you how my day started today. So I got I went out into the garden with Mika, just to give Mika the first round in the garden. And then I picked up the wheelbarrow and moved it a little bit. And when I did that, I stepped into some kind of wild animal poo that took a dump in my garden. That is how my day started today. The shoe was beyond saving, and I usually don't do that. When you step into something nasty, I usually save the shoe. I would normally clean everything up, but this thing was so done that it went straight into the trash. Luckily, it was an old shoe that I wore. So yeah, that's how my day started today. But I'm still hopeful it doesn't mean anything. So let's get started, okay? I go through the containers, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, I will just go through everything. Let's discuss cactus seedlings for now. Yeah, these look okay. Check out this seedling here. This looks like a variegated seedling, but it's so small compared to the others. Normally, you would say, hey, great, that is a variegated seedling, but it looks like it will not grow in comparison to the others. The others are much bigger. They already have spines, and this one has not really done anything since coming out of the seed. So yeah, the others look good. I mean, they are not really growing fast, but they are growing. So that's at least something. Apart from that, I will have to take out that variegated seedling at some point, because it probably will not make it. It's already falling over. And welcome everyone to the stream. This is a cactus stream, cactus care, and we're just discussing little cactus seedlings that I have here, that we have sown out on the stream, different types of cacti. In this case, it is Lobivia winteriana. Yeah. So far they are on a good road. Haven't seen any fungus gnats, so I can just close this up again. Pretty happy about that. And while I'm at it, let me show you the chili that we have sown out. They have really started to develop. I think we have to take them out of the bag soon and put them into a bigger pot and a bigger bag. This was chili. Let me see which one. Cayenne chocolate. Yeah, first couple weeks of the seedling's life, and if at this point I don't think we can take it out of humidity, so I will try to just put this into a bigger bigger pot, actually giving it a pot, and I will put a bigger Ziploc bag around it, a bigger plastic bag, whatever, you know. I also wanted to show you these. I was worried that the seed would not slip off here when the germination starts. Sometimes the seed gets stuck on top of the leaves here, these important leaves, and that can lead to fungal infection. So I always remove it when I see it. Hey, no. This is a family-friendly cactus care stream. This is chili. We're just discussing the vegetables that I've sown out, you know. But basically, this is a cactus channel. I believe we must have hit, like, you know, a recommendation somewhere, because I suddenly saw a lot of people finding the stream. We are just discussing cactus seedlings and the vegetables here and there that I'm sowing out. Yeah, let's continue. So these maybe 2 months old now. You can already see the first spines here. If you touch it, it feels like hair. They are not very spiny yet, but it will come. And yeah, this whole thing is full. Maybe a lot of, like, way too many seedlings in one container. I'm not sure what went on through my head when I sowed them out. But yeah, let's see what it is. So this is a Uwe Kahle hybrid between Zizala and a hybrid called Kazoa. Yeah. No idea how they look. I mean, I know Zizala. Zizala has beautiful flowers. A little bit like pink stripes, but also different. And yeah, interesting body. I like them. They develop nicely. So I will leave them in the bag. I could take them out now after 2 months or so, but I want to do it slowly. There are just too many that I'm currently that I've taken out of the bag. Let me show you how they look when they are out. Yeah, and this dries up very fast, so I'm basically I have to spray them a few times a day, because otherwise they would start to deteriorate. So yeah, it's a lot of work, and the more we can leave in the bag, the less work we have with the watering. So the thing that rolled around is just pumice. Apart from that, the seedlings look okay, rather small, not really healthy. If you look at it, it's not really a sign for great genetic health. But some of them are growing, and some of them might actually grow up into bigger plants. Yeah, and this is Echinopsis valida. We will see how that goes. The plant itself looks pretty interesting, had variegation that it later outgrew. And I pollinated with different kind of hybrids like flying saucer, pink stripes, interesting kind of parents. And yeah, we'll see if this is actually hybrid offspring or maybe self-pollination. Sometimes plants are able to self-pollinate. The fact that they are so small actually points towards them not being self-fertile, because then these would look healthier. Usually when I see self-fertility, it is very healthy plants, very healthy offspring. Okay. Next one. And I'm always happy to take questions if you want to know something. If not, I'm going through the seedlings that we have sown out here. Cactus seedlings from the last 2 months or so. These are very young, just barely germinating. And one bigger seedling in center. I'm not sure what this is, but it could be poor genetic health. This yellowish kind of skin color points towards potential variegation. But we will see they are just too small and they are not growing fast. This is Sörensia formosa rosarioana. That is in my opinion, that is a hybrid or natural hybrid of Cerenzia formosa, maybe with something like Cerenzia huasha, and it's flowering earlier. It's a more slender plant, and compared to the classic Cerenzia formosa, it just is a little bit slimmer, and I haven't seen a lot of flowers on the actual formosa yet, but this thing is flowering like crazy. Genetic health, like I said, this could be a poor cross. We will have to see. I will give it another month, and if the seedlings haven't grown by then it's probably not something that we should keep around. We'll see. And welcome everyone to my stream. I try to do quite a lot of different stuff on the stream. Right now in winter, I'm just discussing what I'm sowing out. Or I clean seeds, or I'm actually sowing out live on the stream. And later in the season, we will do it up from outdoors when the plants are flowering. Just right now, there's a lot of just plants hibernating in the greenhouses, and I don't really feel like streaming that. So yeah, these look okay. Green, a little bit unhealthy, a little bit towards yellow. Usually a sign that they need nutrients. Usually nitrogen, but not only. You know, at this young age, it is kind of hard to see what kind of a color tone they have to indicate that they need what they need. But generally speaking, if the seedlings turn yellowish, I would always try to give them a little fertilizer, and we will do that very soon. For now, they can still stay in this thing, stay in the bag, but long term, I want to take them out within maybe the next couple of weeks. This is a hybrid cross from that I made. Can't really see what cross it is. I just see the number. So we will look that up at some point. Okay. So these look great, actually. I like what I see here. Little bit discoloration here and here. Usually a sign of stress, but not all forms of stress are completely unhealthy. Or, you know, sometimes you just have to slowly accustom them to a harder environment, and by putting them under a lamp that isn't really the weakest, they slowly start to grow into that. But you have to keep an eye on it, you know. Some lamps are just too strong. In our case, I don't see the seedlings getting smaller. I don't see the seedlings having issues aside from random discolorations here and there, and that is okay for me. No fungus gnats. The seedlings look completely healthy, so I can just leave them. For the future, if I find fungus gnats anywhere, we take that thing out of the bag and let it dry. The time of the fungus gnat is over. I will give them a very bad time. I'm really tired of them. They have caused a lot of damage on tiny seedlings, so we will not let that stand. They will tell stories about how bad I did them. So yeah. So looking okay, little bit color, but this is probably variegation, because I see one or two seedlings that are completely white also. I see green here, yellowish, and completely white. Let me see what kind of a parentage this is, if it's on there. Yeah, this is a hybrid cross between a columnar and a flowering kind of hybrid. Could be genetic health. They just sometimes produce that kind of offspring. I generally do not sell seeds anymore right now. I was in the seed business for quite a while, And yeah, it just ended up being so much work, just to do the packing, the constant packing of the seeds, that I had to eventually retire in 2024. At some point I might get back if really things are not going well. But it's something I I don't want to sell seeds long term anymore. You know, I don't want to be a seed seller. Um, I will donate the seeds that I have. I still haven't figured out the system how to do it, and I'm still in the middle of cleaning. But I want to just gift stuff away in the future. And the selling, it basically kept me from doing what I do now on the channel. You know, um, if I had done more of that, I wouldn't be able to grow the channel like I'm doing it now. Channel has been doing really well, and there's a real perspective for me in life that I can make it work here. You know, because I basically live in a rough terrain, in like a little bit off grid, and it takes quite a few things to continue breeding here. I need a little bit more space. I have to continuously make sure that there are no trees around it. You have to keep the area free. It's a lot of work, you know. So now we have a chance to actually make that work in the future. In the past, when I was selling seeds, I was probably losing money the way I did it. I always threw in extra seeds giveaway stuff, you know, and eventually I usually sent out twice or thrice the seeds that were ordered. And yeah, I really didn't want to do it any other way, because it is why people appreciated it while I did it, you know. So I will work out the system, like to donate the hybrid stuff that I do, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm currently really struggling with life, you know, divorce, the everyday stuff, just being there, you know, for the pets, the classic, the classic kind of breakup problems. So yeah, but I will get back to that kind of stuff, seed stuff, and I will just give them away. That is my like my plan for the future. As long as I can make it work here, that I can work the seeds that we because it's nice to do it on camera. We're filming the whole season. We're making all these crosses, and in the end, we sometimes have some good stuff. So I will try to find a way that these are propagated. And I don't believe in mass, you know, in price gouging. I was horrified to see how some of the clones are sold for how much money. So I want to do this differently in the future. You know, I'm not doing cactus stuff for profit. I never did. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why I never really. I don't know. You know, you can run a business in so many different ways, and profit should always be. You know, you shouldn't go broke. But it was never really. I did it because I love the hobby, and I always just try to barely get it funded that I can continue. That was me doing seeds and stuff, and I miss it sometimes. But again, nothing of that I do right now would be possible if I hadn't at some point stepped away from the seed stuff a little. I would be a seed seller for all my life, you know. And I really believe we have a chance here. We can build a nice community that maybe at some point has a budget to do stuff, to do good stuff, good projects, you know. So yeah, I want to continue with the seedlings. Yeah, looking variegated in this case. I will close it up, but I might have to take out some of the seedlings in this thing. By the way, here's a piece of wood sticking out. We discussed wood yesterday, and I wanted to let you know next time I see it. This stuff is just a very organic kind of wood barky kind of soil that we had here. I guess they put in the wood bark in this soil because it is so hard to overgrow. Like this was the cemetery soil that we used to sow out in the past, and in that soil apparently they put in a lot of wood bark just to keep weeds away. And it can work for cacti too. Okay, so yeah, moss here, not a huge problem. It's not anywhere near the seedlings, and that is what matters to me. Seedlings look great, actually. Some of them a little bit yellowish, but also this looks like variegation, different shades of variegation. A lot of the seeds that I show here have that, simply because the type of crosses that I make are a little bit more distant. I try to just do interesting kind of hybrids, and those have a higher chance for variegation, for mutations. The more distant the cacti that you cross with each other, the more likely that genetically it's not a perfect match, and that just also shows by having seedlings with mutations, variegations, monstrous growth, all that stuff is caused genetically, and when you really do unusual hybrid crosses with them, it becomes a lot more common. This looks good, but way too many seedlings in one pot. Feels great, you know. I'm just touching the spines, and I'm doing it carefully because you can already injure them. But yeah, these look great. Just cactus seedling alone, they look great. And this is a Uwe Kahler hybrid from Flying Dragon Cantora. Flying Dragon Cantora and I think Bamboy. It's a very interesting hybrid cross, if you ask me. Flying Dragon Cantora has huge flowers, grows fast, and yeah, Bamboy had an even better kind of flower. So yeah, this is Flying Dragon Cantora and Zizala. Zizala is also a similar hybrid to Bamboy. Definitely interesting. I like it. I hope that the father in this hybrid cross will have an influence, an actual influence on the flower. On paper, it looks great. Yeah, very young seedlings, very young seedlings. See what's on the label. Yeah, columnar mother, and also a flower hybrid as a father. And seedlings, this is the sowing soil, by the way. This is the new soil already. And it looks good. It looks better than the other one. Not seeing any fungus gnats in it. Was good that I switched to sowing soil. But yeah, that is also interesting. You can now go back, compare it, you know, compare the old medium to another one. In my opinion, the cemetery soil is great for larger cacti, but not usable for sowing out safely. You can do it, but it's probably not treated as well as sowing soil. Okay, so here, this doesn't look good. This is a problem probably with fungus gnats, because I see that one or two seedlings have discolorations at the root. And that usually is a sign of fungus gnats. But I want to try giving these another chance. So I will spray the soil a little bit. I want to have a little bit more humidity in the top layer. These are very young seedlings. No matter what, you can't take them out now. You wouldn't be able to guarantee that humidity if you would take these out. They are just too small. You would have to water all the time. Watering, spraying all the time. And that is probably not doable with them. I really think they would not make it. So I try to leave them in here, try to fix this a little bit, clean up, reposition the seedlings that are lying there. And this one also has a seed on top, stuck on the tip, on the apex of the seedling. But I'm not getting it off. Okay, now. I don't think this seedling stands a chance anyway. Very unlikely. It looks unhealthy, you know. This is sometimes you have a cross that is genetically unhealthy, and this looks a little bit like it. So now I corrected the 2 seedlings here. This needs to stay in a closed bag. We couldn't take it out. Even if the fungus gnats would be in there, taking it out now would also lead to loss. So sometimes you have to pick the lesser evil. And yeah, this is Altena, offspring of Altena. So good hybrid, but genetically, I'm not sure how good or bad it is. I've seen a lot of offspring of it so far, and I have not seen any problems. But I also, in the past, I never really like looked at it, compared it, you know, like we do now. Okay, yeah, this here, variegation. Almost certainly. Some sort of discoloration. You can see the green seedlings in between. So it's not that this is just the setup, the environment. This is most likely a genetically problematic hybrid cross. The mother was a hybrid by misplant between something columnar and grandiflorus, I guess. And that is already a kind of distant hybrid cross. And in this case here, I crossed it with the Loxanthinopsis hybrid. Loxanthocereus crossed with Echinopsis. So genetically distant, and that can backfire, you know. Some hybrid crosses just turn out unhealthily, and this is one of the most likely candidates in the in the group of seedlings right now. If you ask me, this one will probably long term not grow healthily. Okay, so here is something where I transplanted seedlings, and this is looking better. These were in washed pumice, I guess, and yeah, it instantly helped to bring them into this new soil, a little bit more organic, not excessively, but a little bit more. And you can see that the seedlings, they are not constantly moving anymore. When I take a container with washed pumice, for example, see how easily that stuff moves. So you would have to throw in other ingredients to make that go away. You would need to put in maybe sowing soil, maybe a little bit of broken expanded clay, perlite, maybe all kinds of different lava you could put in just to work on the structure, just to not have it move all the time. And in here, you see everything. Even if I press a little bit on the walls, there's no movement there, and that is important for the seedlings. In the very young first 2 months, it can be very bad to have seedlings that are never really at one spot, that are, you know, always, then you move something, then the seedling falls over, then you correct it, and later it falls over again. That kind of stuff is really bad when they are young, when they are very young. Okay. So next one. Yeah, these look okay-ish. I hate the moss, because at some point it starts to become a nuisance, and then eventually it goes from being a nuisance to overgrowing the seedlings. For now it's okay, but I will probably remove the moss eventually. Seedlings could use a little fertilizer, but I don't want to take them out yet. and they will be fertilized when I take them out. That is generally to all of them here. Okay. By the way, with the comment that I read earlier, you know, about Scopolycola, the wild Echinopsis scopolycola, the seeds, that species is really rare, has really become rare in nature. There are wild plants of Echinopsis scopolycola, but nobody should really, you know, they should propagate them first, because the species is at risk of disappearing in so many sites. So I haven't seen any wild Scopolycola seeds in, I don't know, maybe 20 years. Karel Kniese had some Scopolycola seeds, but in my opinion, they were something like Echinopsis bridgesi, you know, that clumping Echinopsis that they can grow taller, and in my opinion, he probably saw that and believed it to be Scopolycola. The only like wild Scopolycola seeds that I have seen in the last 20 years maybe were something else, something entirely different. Scopolycola is really rare in nature, and there are some sites. It's not completely gone. But very few people talk about it, also to keep the plant safe, you know. That's what I wanted to say about the question before, with that I hadn't seen that until now with Scopolycola. So yeah, I haven't seen wild Scopolycola seeds anywhere. And if they were available, they would probably be criticized for because it is so rare, you know. At this point, they should really work on propagating the species, saving the species, because otherwise it will go extinct eventually in nature. There are very few plants on the market, like different collections that were really done. A lot of the Scopolycola on the market go back to Friedrich Ritter, and he was the one that described the species originally. And yeah, that is basically it. I don't think I have ever seen, like, when I started collecting cacti, growing cacti, Scopolycola seeds were already not a thing. You only got hybrid seeds for a long time, and the place where you have the highest chance to get actual stuff grown from Friedrich Ritter seed, it's basically Germany, you know, because that was one of the main centers where he sold his seeds. A lot of the Scopolycola in Germany are actually that FR991 field number, you know, and I say field number because the seed that Ritter sold back then was from different plants. It wasn't from one plant, it was from different plants. So there's a lot of offspring, seed-grown offspring from the original Scopolycola seeds that Ritter collected. And yeah, so you can't even call them, I don't know, F1 whatever, you know, because they are just different sister plants, sometimes not even sister plants, but plants from different plants, but the same variety, the same field number. So yeah, okay, so let's move on. These here look terrible. I hate it, but at least one seedling has a little bit of green. The others don't look like they will make it. This is so the poor health here is due to an older age. Like the seeds were a little bit older, and this is how you can sometimes see it. Older seeds, they just lose viability, they lose general health, and that can happen. I've seen seeds from this mother plant, and they are usually rather healthy compared to this, and in this case, I found old seeds, and I wanted to test if they were still viable. So they came up, but not a lot, not many seedlings, and the ones that came up are missing chlorophyll. Not looking good. We'll see, but I wouldn't put a lot of hope into this container. Just even the healthy plant might eventually lose the will to live. Okay. They're looking okay, looking good. Growing spines, actually. I like that when you can see the first set of spines and they are really spiny. Health-wise, they look good. A little bit of discoloration here. See this reddish discoloration on this seedling. Here's a little discoloration on some of the tips, but it's not really a problem. I just mention it, that it's there, because discoloration is a big word. You know, it's a big range. Discoloration can go from this here to seedlings turning completely red and just losing humidity over months because the lamp is too strong. In that case, you know, or because the sun at that spot where they are is too strong. If it's like this, I usually do not bother with it. I see it as a sign that they are reacting to the environment. That is how I see it. But of course, there's a limit. You know, you can react to the environment, and at some point, it's too much. You know, so keep an eye out for dehydration. That is the biggest thing. Sometimes when seedlings dehydrate, they get smaller and smaller, and the spines get bigger and bigger. Because they grow the spines also as a means of protection and shielding against excessive sunlight. You need to keep an eye out for, like, try to compare it, you know, like plants that are grown in full sun or under a strong lamp, and seedlings that were grown in the shade. And when you compare it, you can see that the sunlight just brought out this strong spination very often. It protects them. It protects them from both animals that are eating that can eat the plants, or protects them from the environment. Out there in nature, sunlight can be really harsh for them, and sometimes they would not make it if they don't find ways to reduce the risk. And in this case, this looks terrible. This is a Hildewintera Echinopsis hybrid, and it shows. But I still have a little bit of hope, because some of the seedlings look like they are able to produce chlorophyll. They are a little bit of greenish, not bad, you know. But I also noticed something. Check out. I'm not sure if it shows in the video yet, but there's a greenish kind of layer on top of the soil that looks a little bit like algae, and that is something that I really don't like, because it often changes the consistency of the soil, and it makes it more harsh for the seedling's root. The little roots of the seedlings, they are so sensitive, and if you have a green sludge where they are growing in, that's obviously suboptimal. So yeah, but apart from that, they are greenish. One or two are greenish, and it could mean we will get healthy plants eventually. We just might have to have a little bit more patience right now. I will close it up, but I would not expect to see miracles from these seedlings. Okay, so this is terrible. I really hate this, and this is a great example for that. Check it out. So here's the moss, and over here, it's covering seedlings that don't even get light anymore. Here, there are a bunch of seedlings below, and those will go first. those will start to have a fungal infection, and that's it. So I just removed a little bit of the moss there to get to the seedling, and the seedling already is gone, you know. Took it out now. This seedling 100% didn't make it because the moss was overgrowing it, taking away the light. Here's another one also directly at the moss, also not healthy. I try to consistently remove moss. If it gets to the seedling, if it surrounds the seedlings, if I feel like it takes away something from the seedlings, then I take away the moss. Then I'm weeding it out. And I only do it when I really have to, because moss often comes back. It's not really that you get rid of it entirely unless you repot, and even then it can spread. But you want to give the seedlings a little advantage, a little time advantage where they can develop safely before the moss catches up again. We can transplant them, but they're a little small for that. In the beginning, first 3 months, I try to leave the seedlings the way they are. I only get involved if I really have to. And in this case, it's not good, you know. Genetic health of this hybrid cross here, it doesn't seem to be great anyway. So here's a seedling that I'm taking out that had moss on it. Could also mean that there's variegation in this hybrid cross. It's a little bit too many. This is one of the Humkes Roro crosses that we discussed so often. So I assume this is also genetically a little bit, you know, genetically caused. Cleaned it up a little, but not completely. Like I said, you will never get rid of it completely, but you can give the seedlings a month, a little head start of a month or two. And by that time, after those 2 months, you probably transplant them elsewhere. Thank you. Yeah, I used that in the past. It helps, definitely. But right now, I'm out. But I usually, it's one of the good disinfectants that you can use. Hey, welcome to the stream. Great to have you. Yeah, looking okay. Some of them are actually growing, but I feel like these could use some fertilizer. But there are some of the seedlings that are still too small to take them all out. You know, you always have to look at the smallest seedling and then decide if taking them out of the bag, if they will make it through that. And sometimes it can be better to leave them in for another couple weeks or so, or even a month. There are no firm rules on how long you can keep them in a bag. I usually do that based on gut instinct. I look into the pot, into the container, and when I feel like this is going nowhere, or when I see it going into a certain direction with consistent losses of seedlings here and there, then I take them out now. Okay, so this is also Teleflora. Looking good, looking decent, but small. Tiny seedlings here. Doesn't really speak for the genetic health, but I will give it some time, let it grow a little. Some of the seedlings look like they might not make it. This one here, here's one that I do not like. It's already leaning a little, and that can be a sign that the root is already damaged. I tried to correct it a little, but that one seedling, I really feel like the skin color of that seedling looks also unhealthy. So We'll see how it develops. The thing is, if you have one seedling in something like that, that you can save, then you have the starting point for a fungal infection in one of these bags, you know. Okay, let's see. These look okay. A little bit greener than the others. And also nice spines. They are actually growing. You can really see the difference in between some of them. The one that I just opened, Teleflora, and this one, they are not that far away from each other in regards to the time frame. So it doesn't necessarily have that huge meaning in the beginning, because you can have very weak plants that eventually turn into something amazing. But it also plays a role. Genetic health, you know, a lot of people talk about hybrid breeding, diluting species, that kind of stuff. That is, which is by the way, which is never really a huge thing, because the plants will usually not get into nature again. You know, what people do in their collection has very little influence on what's in nature. But you have to be open to a discussion about genetic health. If you create a hybrid that is too weak to survive on their own root, and you can really see that the seedling has regular outbreaks with problems, then you shouldn't probably continue that with breeding with that or keeping it around. But you sometimes need to test it out. You can't see it in the plant. For example, like I'm discussing Super Apricot, that hybrid, a lot on the channel, and it has an amazing flower, but genetically it's not healthy. In this case here, one seedling. Not sure why only one. This was Mamacita Acacia hybrid. Acacia echinopsis hybrid. I would put in a little bit more water. But yeah, probably not a great viability here. Could also be the fruit are very small. Maybe this was one of them that only had a few seeds in it. Can also happen. Sometimes I would sow out a tiny amount of seeds if that is all that I have. Okay. And in the container that I just opened, I put in a little bit extra water because I haven't given up on the germination yet. This has just started recently. It's not that long since we induced germination in this one. And maybe we can get more seedlings by now, providing more humidity. In the beginning, there are a few big things that can keep the seeds from germinating, and not enough water is a big one. So if in doubt, fill up a little water, and that will tell you if the seeds are maybe genetically not coming up, or if it's something that was related to the environment. Sometimes you don't meet the temperature range, sometimes you don't meet the humidity range. Okay, yeah, I don't know. They look okay. Just okay. Very young, but they also should have grown more in that time that they had. And this is Lubivia hybrid from Dessau. Like the mother was Dessau, a hybrid by a German breeder called Hartmut Kellner. A good breeder, very good one. Breeder of many masterpiece hybrids. One of the old school breeders, and he's still working, but I'm not sure how long he will continue to breed. And yeah, I always admire his body of work. All the many hybrids that he's created in his life. Gotta admire that, you know. And Dessau is one of the plants that I work with too. I've seen some good offspring from Dessau. Okay. This is the last one in the bag. I have a few more out of the bag, but this is in the bag. Thank you. Yeah, these here, also very young. Let's see, Born to be Wild, sister. And I'm constantly torn if these are variegated or not. But for now, they aren't growing much. I've been showing them for a while now, and I feel they should have grown a little bit more in that time. But we will just have patience because Born to be Wild and that sister plant that this came from are just too good. I got the sister plant of Born to be Wild that was not a hybrid that's being propagated. I found that randomly on eBay, and the flower is even better than the flower of Born to be Wild. That is an amazing Lobivia ferox hybrid. And yeah, this plant that I found from the same cross has an even better flower. So maybe we can get, even if I just get the same kind of flower in the offspring, then it's still amazing and deserves to be propagated. Okay, and this is one that I took out of the bag. So check it out. The humidity, how dry it is. If you feel it, it feels completely dry. And I've sprayed this maybe an hour ago. So the water indoors, if you spray them, it evaporates so fast. Apart from that, they're doing all right. But this is the type of stuff that you need to be careful about. When you take them out, you have to spray them a lot. And in that phase, a lot of people are uncertain if they are giving too much or too little water. Very often it is not enough. Too much water is also a thing that happens later on. In the first 2-3 months, the seedlings like humidity. They need it. They are so sensitive. If you have these in nature, they would not survive if they weren't coming up somewhere in the shade, protected by something, shielded by something. In nature, they wouldn't have a chance usually. So they need a lot of water. If you don't want to lose seedlings like it happens in nature, you need to actually spray a lot if you take them out. Of course, you could also change the soil, use something that is incredibly organic, but then that would bring a lot of problems later on when that organic soil is too hard on the roots. And this one is the same. Also very dry. Piece of wood sticking out here. So this is the cemetery soil that we tested. Cemetery soil, pretty black kind of soil, and it did great for the large plants. In summer, I potted 20 plants in it, 20 big plants, and they're doing great. The soil is drying out within a few hours, even in winter, and that is great. That is actually a sign that you could use that as a medium. So, but for the seedlings, it also brought the problems with the fungus gnats. It is maybe a little bit more prone to hosting like fungus gnats, giving fungus gnats exactly what they need. So in the future, I'm only sowing out in sowing soil again. Should have done that anyways, but I was running out, and I felt like, you know what, maybe we're trying it out because it could be the great soil that nobody ever tested. Okay, so I brought sowing soil, and I want to continue to sow out a little. I have these are food takeaway containers. I've discussed them in the last streams, the last few streams that I did. If you want to see more on that, check that out. Basically, when I got started with food takeaway containers for sowing out. It was basically the first way I learned how to sow out. and I still have a lot of them. Like I once bought me maybe 1,000, and that they are still here. Because shortly afterwards I switched to sowing out in the square pots that we're using here, and I basically changed because every time you are sowing out in something like this, it doesn't have drainage holes, and you need to do it. You need to put them in, and you can do that without a problem, but it's just generally um, a little bit more time consuming than just sowing out directly into the square pot and just using a bag to keep the humidity in. So that's why I changed from food takeaway containers, but they are useful. And you get the lids. Usually you always have to have the lids also, because that allows you to induce germination, keep in the humidity when you need it, and later when the seedlings are bigger, you can just take it off. If you have a firm, like a fixed lid that is part of this thing, like that you can't take off, then it causes unnecessary work. Okay, let's have a look at the sowing soil. I read what's in there, and it's basically peat. Then it has perlite in it. It has a little bit of sand in it. Stuff that makes it a little bit more resistant to drying out and bricking. Bricking is when the soil gets so firm when it dries out that you can't really get it to the original state again after drying out. Some types of soil just tend to stick together like a cement brick, and that is a problem for the roots. That is a problem for little roots. That is a problem for even for larger plants. And those problems you don't have them with sowing soil. Okay, so I usually try to put in enough soil to just have half of that thing filled. You can also put in a little bit less soil, because when you're sowing out, it really isn't. You have to have a little space towards the lid, otherwise the seedlings will continue to grow and press against the lid. So you need space a little bit, and when you only have that little, it can be good to leave that little bit of extra room downwards for the seedlings. Seedlings will never really grow that huge rootstock that they absolutely need. So I try to, in the beginning, to not leave so much room there. I want to have a little bit of space that you are not forced to take the humidity away right away. Okay, so I will fill maybe 6, and then we'll see what I'm sowing out. And classic sowing soil, it's a tested, known kind of thing that produces good results on a regular basis. There are some great mineral soil mixes, but yeah, for me, I don't need to overcomplicate things. I like it simple. I like it cheap. When you need to mix your mineral soil, you always have to have different types of additives at home. It's just, I like to have a simple soil where I can get started without having to, have a perfect, tested, well balanced mix. For the most part, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary for the seedlings. They will be repotted very fast anyway. I try to repot seedlings very often. Okay. Okay, one more. I will try to cover this thing then, so we can continue sowing out tomorrow. And I don't want any fungus gnats to get to it, so this thing will be covered completely. Otherwise, the fungus gnats could get to it, and we've had that before. There's some stuff that you only need to experience once. You don't have to have that on a regular basis. So yeah, let's have a look what we can sow out here. I brought a bunch of different kind of seeds here. Oh no. Some plants, I'm trying to stay away from plants where self-fertility could be a thing. Okay, so this is interesting. This is a hybrid between Zoeransia arboricola and Scopolycola. And that was actually a nice hybrid. I really liked that. Had interesting body. Most of the hybrids with arboricola, they are basically just arboricola. Arboricola can be very dominant in hybrid crosses, and in this case, it wasn't. You know, in this case, you could really see that there was something else involved too. Scopolycola in that case, or a Sally hybrid. I think it was a Sally hybrid, actually, not Scopolycola, but Scopolycola and crossed with variegated grandiflorus. And yeah, the body looked great. Really interesting kind of body. So I want to sow those out. Just cleaning it a little. Trying to remove everything that looks like the seeds might not be viable, like flat seeds or little pieces of dirt. I don't want that in the container. Overall, I guess what we're putting in here, maybe 45 seeds. Maybe a little bit more. Could already be something like 50. But yeah, it's okay. This is a good cross. We need it. We needed that. Okay. I think it's clean enough. It's hard to tell because some of the seeds are really small here. Hard to tell which ones are actually viable and which ones aren't. So let's write a label. Hey Robert, good morning. Welcome to the stream. I'm sowing out again. Total insanity, but it needs to be done. How are you doing? Hope you are all right. Zelly, arboricola Zelly. Crossed with pink stripes in this case. That's a good hybrid cross. Cross number 52 in 2024. So I hope you guys are doing all right. So I'm spraying this a little, but just a little. I don't want to have too much water in this thing. Also, because the less water, the less soil you have in there, the less space there is for the water to sink down. If you are using a very tall container, which I recommend you do not, you shouldn't, because it's just, you don't need that huge amount of soil. Because the more soil you have, the longer it takes for everything to dry out. And that can be good if you're living at a place where something can really dry out very fast. But usually it's a little bit too slow draining for cactus seedlings. The more soil, the bigger the pot, the longer it takes. Okay, and that's also a thing, like when you're watering late in the evening, and you have a plant that has a huge pot overnight, when with temperatures getting colder again, that can actually turn into a fungal infection. Okay, good. I would love to sow out another one of those. Want to do two, because pink stripes is actually great. If I wanted to combine pink stripes and arboricola, and that sounds like a good starting point, you know. Arboricola, arboricola, zelly, and pink stripes. In regards to the parents, that is has potential. I see a lot of potential there. Okay. Yeah, also 50, 60 seeds maybe. We'll see how the viability is. There might be non-viable. So, but in most cases, the seeds will probably be good. So, arboricola, Sally, crossed with pink stripes. I love pink stripes. Pink stripes is a great hybrid. Really nice flower. So much potential for getting it into something columnar. Okay. Hybrid cross from 2024. Black season. Okay. Just a little bit of water. And now I'm closing it up. If you don't really want to use these kind of takeaway containers, like I said, the alternative is to just to sow out into square pots and cover them with different sized bags. That is a great replacement. That will work just the same. Okay, so over here I found a little fruit that I want to clean. And we could sow those out right away, because this is probably a good hybrid, Lubivia hybrid of some sort. Maybe we can get a bunch of seedlings here and there. I sometimes forget about seeds, like I put them somewhere, a little fruit here and there, and then I forget about them and find them like 2 years later and think, why haven't I sown these out? And I want to work more on that to avoid that in the future. Just gotta respect when you do the cross, you know, you invest so much time to actually create these fruits, to create the seeds. Then you need to respect them enough to not forget about them. Okay. Overall here, I guess we have maybe 20 seeds at the most. And that's okay. At some point we gotta make up for all the containers that have 1 million seedlings in them. And also a fair amount of dirt here. Okay. So yeah, here are the seeds. Check it out. Lubivia seeds. Lubivia multi-hybrid seeds, I guess. And I like these kind of plants. I like that combination between Lubivia and a columnar cactus. There's so much potential for hybrid breeding because the Lubivia flowers are so beautiful. They have a nice kind of color range that you don't get on the columnar cacti. and maybe we can combine that. So this is what was it? I have no idea. Lubivia, I think it was Fairs 11 or 12, something like that. Maybe a year ago, when I put that fruit there, I would have been able to tell you, but not anymore. Okay. Check it out, just so you see how much water I put on there. There shouldn't be any water pooling at the bottom. That is the important thing. This, maybe it's even a little bit too much. But the soil always loses a little bit of humidity later on. Okay, so next one. Okay. This is good stuff. I really have good hybrids in there. Yeah. Let me sow out a columnar in 2 containers. Columnar and a flower, you know, nice flower hybrid as a father. Could have a lot of interesting offspring. So far, all the plants that I've seen, all the seedlings that I've seen from this plant here, they look amazing. Some mutation, some variegation, everything. So that might actually be what we need to grow more of in the future. The one thing when you're a cactus breeder, growing the seeds, growing the seedlings, or actually making sure that someone is growing the seedlings is really important. It is one of the big parts that people respect my crosses, you know, because I always made sure that people have access to them. People can grow them, and that plays a big role. So I don't want to step away from that. Okay. So this is a hybrid cross from 2024, 2024, 3. Sown out. I don't have the date right now. What's the date? Let me see. 19th. I will put that on them now. So we can compare how fast or slow they grow. Can really make sense to put a date on the label. Because very often we have these situations, you pick up the label and you look at them and you feel like they are growing slow, but if you haven't written down when you sow them out, you will never know for sure. You would have to go back, look at the videos where you sown out that particular plant, that particular container, and you would probably not do it. Okay, so this is the second label. January 19th, 2026. I actually wrote 2025 here. I will never learn that. Okay, so now I'm spraying them. Okay, so these two are the same, one and the same type of seeds. And I will move these to the heater like this. You can staple them, but you need to be careful. They also need to be closed everywhere. Sometimes one corner is open a little bit, and that eventually will lead to the whole thing leaning over or falling over. Okay, you can definitely staple 6, 7, 8 of them, and that is great in front of the heater. Saves you a lot of space. Later on, you could even continue to grow them like this, but at some point, they will need more light. This is okay for the beginning, but light is also important. Okay, so this here is Gräsers Erfolg Selbstbestäubung and Cantora crossed with pink stripes. That's a good cross. We should sow that out, right? But I'm not sure if the mother is self-fertile or not. I'm still not 100% certain. I suspect it could be self-fertile, since a lot of those Gräser hybrids are actually self-fertile. But I'm not 100% convinced. I've seen offspring that look like true hybrid crosses. Offspring of the same plant, just by like when other breeders have worked with it. Very nice ruffled flowers, big flowers. It has the best of both worlds. It has a Gräser kind of flower. Gräser flowers, they are usually ruffled. And it has the size from Cantora. Because some of the Gräser hybrids have smaller flowers. And this one here was combined with Cantora Gelb, and Cantora Gelb is famous for the big flowers and big yellow flowers. And yeah, it made a great combination. Okay. So I just tried to clean this up a little. There's some seeds that haven't been perfectly cleaned here, and I want to get rid of that so we can sow out. I don't know what it is with this seed here. There's a seed, but it doesn't look like a normal seed. It looks like there's something sticking to it. Okay. All right. Check it out. Could be 50 seeds. Okay. And I'm pretty sure I must have sown out some of these already. This is a good cross. I wanna have a hybrid that is ruffled and has the kind of flower color that Pink Stripes has. Pink Stripes or some of the other hybrids, Bamboy, something like that. And I often call them Gräser hybrids, but they are basically follow-up hybrids of old hybrids from the 50s, from the 1940s, whatever. Robert Gräser has been a breeder for a very long time. I'm not sure when the original Gräser hybrids came out, but I already remember like reading in them in old school journals, like Cactus journals, and I think that was already in the 70s or 80s. So they must be pretty old. And what we have today are usually follow-up hybrids with them, not the original ones, but another breeder took something and improved it a little. In this case, it was Reinhard Liske. The mother plant comes from a Reinhard Liske cross between Gräsers Erfolg Selbstbestäubung and Cantora Gelb. In this case, paired with Pink Stripes. Sown out on the 19th. Okay. Yeah, this is good. We're on a good path. We will end up like cactus hoarders with a million seedlings. But apart from that, everything's great. Everything that we're sowing out has potential. That is what makes it so dangerous. You can't at some point just look at the label and decide, maybe I should give away some of them or all of them. You really have to grow some of them to find out how the flower will look like. And at some point, we will run out of grow space. That will happen very fast. Probably has already happened. Okay, so this is what we did today. That was dangerous. When you let them fall in that stage, it's usually catastrophic, because the seeds can't be buried, they can't be covered by soil. So at this point they're not supposed to fall over. And even when you have the seedlings in that thing, when you drop it, can be total loss. It's just very hard to transplant very young seedlings. So yeah, this goes to the heater now. Pressing it against the heater, trying to have 30 degree, trying to hit 30 degree in that thing. Always got to keep in mind when the heater is already hot, 30 degree, it might be even hotter in there. So once you have seedlings, you can't leave it there anymore. This is just that these will go to the heater, pressed against the heater to induce germination. But once that has happened, once we see the seedlings, I usually move that away very fast. In the beginning, excessive heat can even help. But once you have something that is alive, living little seedlings, that they have a hard limit on heat. And with seeds are a little bit more forgiving. Okay, yeah. I will move these to the heater, I guess. If we guarantee temperature of 30 degree in that thing, we should get seedlings within the next 5 to 10 days. And if nothing has happened by that time, I'm already getting a little bit skeptical and go to investigate. Because you have to, if there's something that wasn't right, if you need to fix it right away, you don't have months. You need to, in the beginning, when the seeds go into humidity, they need to have everything they need. You need to have the right humidity in there, and you need to have the right temperature in there. And if that didn't happen the first time, like when you were sowing out, let's say we're sowing them out today, and you see in 3 days that there's a lot of water that has gone missing from that thing, then you might have to correct it right away. Don't wait too long, because right in the beginning is when you have that chance to induce germination. When you miss that in the beginning, and when the seedlings stay wet, the seeds stay wet for a month, then there's that natural kind of protection for them that keeps them from germinating at the wrong time. The seedlings will the seeds will feel that something isn't right. Let's say you didn't have enough water in it, or let's say you didn't have the right temperature. Then the seeds will kind of pick up on that. Just it's a thing for them to not come up when the time isn't right. They are made to germinate at exactly the right kind of climate, right temperature in spring or whatever, to just guarantee that the seedling doesn't expire within 2 weeks. It would be a waste of time for them to germinate during a bad time, and they usually don't do it. Okay. Yeah. Let's see where this is going. Next time I'm seeing something in them, I'll bring them again and we discuss them. Okay. Yeah. Apart from that, happy to take more questions if you want to know something. If not, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. Things developing nicely. The stream's developing nicely. I'm actually pretty happy right now. Every now and then the channel gets a lot of subscribers suddenly, like today in the stream. we suddenly had like 30, 40 viewers. I'm not sure what triggers it, but I'm happy about it. I'm happy to see success, and yeah, I have something to prove this year. I want to really make it count this year. I'm not sure if I will do another season next year. So this year we will really make it count. Will be a lot of streaming in summer. I will take the camera like I'm doing it now in summer. There will be no more office stream. The office stream will be done only in winter, probably. So at some point we will go out. I hope so too, Robert. It's not my, I don't really want to stop, but it's a lot of work, and things need to get a little bit easier. And that is why I'm really pushing. So, I'm pushing hard. Last season, I did a lot of stuff that in a very short time, impressive stuff in a very short time. Because I feel like I don't have that much time. Time's a luxury that I, like in the condition that I'm working here, the off-road side that needs to be kept clean and all, it's a lot of work. So this year, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, thank you, mate. Thank you for participating, and everyone else, I hope you have a great day. I will be back tomorrow, and then we will continue sowing out. I just have too many good seeds, and we will worry later what we do with them. Okay, guys, thank you. I appreciate it, and I will be back tomorrow. Good night.